You guys weren't supposed to see that, but you
Really?
did.
Who,
I'm sorry.
who's
I
who
didn't
saw
mean.
that?
I didn't mean to be on screen when I was setting things up. Happy Torn Tuesday. Oh, my mic's all the way over here. Do I sound better now? Do I
What are
not
you
have to
doing? Are
yell?
you showing the world how we make sausages behind the scenes? Is that
Well,
what you're doing? Is
it
that
is
what's
torn.
happening?
It is Torn Tuesday, your weekly dose of all things Lord of the Rings. We've got the news. We've got gossip. We've got a look back at the Two Towers Oscar party, and we've got updates on everything to do with Rings of Power. It has been a huge week, but the clocks where I'm at did not change. So
Oh,
I thought
that's
I had another
that's the
hour
excuse.
before the
That's the
show
excuse.
started. So while I get all of our
That's funny.
images and stuff set up, Cliff, why don't you tell everybody about Sunday and the Oscars?
Can I just say hello, everybody, and welcome again to Torn Tuesday? It might be the case that we were on the air for a very long time, and I'm really sorry about that. If anybody saw any mischief that was going on, it's just as likely that there's mischief on camera as much as we don't want to show it off camera. That's fine too. Look what I found. My 2023 Oscars ballot, which was created by the good folks at Scum and Villainy Cantina. And I can tell you that I guessed 17 correct categories out of the broadcast 18, 19, 20. There were 23 categories. 23 categories that were given to us and awarded during Sunday evening's ceremony. Just happened 2 days ago. And here at the OneRing.net, as usual, we take a great interest not only in the works and the wonderful literature of J.R.R. Tolkien, but we also take a great interest, at least personally, as an independent filmmaker and as a writer on this website for many, many, many years. I think it's always interesting to take a popular culture filter and look at how movies, TV, games, and all kinds of other media are giving us versions and their interpretations of J.R.R. Tolkien. So we like to look at popular culture in the fact that it really does have an interesting sway over the kinds of adaptations and products and games and elements of adaptation and interpretation of Tolkien. It all comes down to kind of where we are in a general wavelength in pop culture. And there could be no better barometer of where we are in this world of popular culture than looking at award season. You look at who's won the Independent Spirit Awards, and then you look at who won the Golden Globe Awards, and then you look at who won the Critics' Choice, and then New York Film Critics Circle. Then let's look at Los Angeles Film Critics Circle Awards. Ultimately, it comes down to the big ones in the unions with the Producers, the Directors Guild Awards, then the Screen Actors Guild Awards, and then it all boils up to the ultimate night of what you'd call a pop culture zenith, if you will. And that is what we regard as Oscar Sunday. It's bigger than Christmas or other major holidays in Los Angeles. It's the biggest day of the year here in Hollywood, only 5 or 6 blocks down the road from where I sit right here in my charming and very lived in living room. Just a few blocks down the road from me is the Kodak Theater. And there it is, where they have the Oscars. And this past Sunday, we had the 95th Annual Academy Awards presented by the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences. And yes, as a news story, it certainly dominates most of the news cycles for quite a while, especially when you're intrigued with, how are we doing as consumers of popular culture? And how are we doing with, looking at films representing the world and representing our stories and the people that are around us, even by representing far away science fiction and fantasy, things that are analogous to our lives and analog to our world. When we look at Wakanda Forever, when we look at a broken family grieving for the loss of their son, struggling with, powers of other nations and economic forces struggling to take that instability and take control of what's going on. You're like, whoa, is that like a Marvel movie? Or is that like some interesting parallel to real world, socio-political dilemmas that actually happen around us? And so, you go back in time to what Gene Roddenberry was giving us with early Star Trek, you'll understand that some of the best speculative fiction can hold up the most uncanny mirror to what nations and cultures and societies are reckoning with themselves and what's going on. So we look to the storytellers and we look to these movie makers to shed some truth, shed some light, and also to cast another interesting perspective that we might not have ever thought of before. And thus, we come to Everything, Everywhere, All at Once, which certainly gave us lots and lots of perspectives that we might not have ever considered before. A mother-daughter emotional crisis that ends up becoming a trans-dimensional, trans-multiverse, sci-fi, martial arts action saga with underpinnings of deep existential contemplation. Whoa, where did all this come from? It's confetti in a box of a movie. It's a wild, exciting artistic thing that took all the big awards. It was a sweep, you could say. And it wasn't 11 out of 11 awards like The Lord of the Rings, The Return of the King had gotten way back when they really did sweep 11 categories. And they had the biggest clean sweep in Academy Award history. But my hat is off, and my congratulations to the hardworking cast and crew of Everything Everywhere All at Once. A remarkable piece of film, a remarkable, thoroughly engaging, and altogether unexpected piece of film art. That's really what it is. And there you have it, Best Picture. I was so intrigued by the Banshees of Inisherin and how a simple character sketch between two men, lonely perhaps, on an island, just losing their friendship or struggling to understand each other, and the underpinnings of the Banshees of Inisherin, the impermanence of life, and the extra permanence of artistry and music compared to the impermanence of the mortal life. What a movie. What a fantastic film. Great stuff that we've had this year in cinema, and including a lot of fascinating Best Picture nominees.
Yeah.
But I'm telling you,
Justin,
I
loved every movie. We were spoiled this year. Every movie was good.
And Kate Blanchett, let us not forget the Queen of Lothlorien, the Lady of the Golden Wood herself, as composer Lydia Tarr, like in a bonkers melodrama, a deep psychodrama, rather.
A great movie, great performance. She didn't win. Hey, Cliff,
she didn't win.
Again, I'm trying to get stuff for the show. Where in time would be Two Towers, One Party Pictures? Would that be before the DVD release of the Two Towers or after?
Well, which DVD? Are you talking about the extended edition
I don't
DVD
know.
of Two Towers?
No, I think it's the theatrical. I don't know. Both of them, right? Let's see.
Well,
if Two Towers came out in December of 2002, would it have been nominated for Oscars within 60 days? Or 90
would have
days?
Been nominated. It was nominated for lots and lots of Oscars for the 2003 Academy Award broadcast.
Okay.
And then later on, 11 months later, in 2003, the final chapter, The Return of the King.
Yeah, we're not. Don't complicate things. We're just
I'm
talking
not
about Two
complicating
Towers.
things, but hey, our party would have been in February of that year, 2003.
Okay. So, folks, we have a thing we have a thing called the scrapbook, which is 20 years of everything Lord of the Rings. We have scans of every magazine and newspaper article in 20 different languages, photos, screen caps, website, everything that fans sent us for 20 years before social media. People would send the One Ring, everything. Our server just cannot handle anybody going to it anymore. So I downloaded the image server to a thumb drive. So, but on the thumb drive, nothing is labeled. It's they're all 9910, 99911, 99912. So I have to sort by
goodness gracious
date. And let me give you a preview. Like, I'm just going through these photos, folks.
Okay.
I just found this Boromir bobblehead.
What is that? That's funny. Where did that come from?
This is not fan made, folks. This is a real product that was put out by Dark Horse Entertainment, I believe. And
that's too funny.
that is an officially licensed Boromir
that is funny.
toy. So yeah, Cliff, continue. All right, so
I was just going to say that this is, there's one thing to consider, that this is a celebration of the arts, like, but the Oscars are more kind of like an acknowledgement for hardworking people to have a moment of their peers, recognizing them for all the hard work they did. And I really thought, and I'm so surprised that the Banshees of Inisherin walked away empty-handed. I'm surprised but thrilled that Michelle Yeoh won Best Actress. I'm sorry, Kate, but there'll be another year for Kate Blanchett to win another Oscar. But
Cliff,
now,
here's a photo of
this is
Ian
Michelle's
McKellen.
time.
This is Ian McKellen in his for-year consideration. Yes, that says Ian McKellen, supporting actor for film in August of 2002. Look at how dramatic he is. Ian, trying to win that article. Cliff, do you remember? Do you remember this photo?
No, I don't. Is this from? When was this out?
This was August 2002.
Last day of August 2002. Wow, it's a great photo of Ian. That really is a great photo of Ian. That's awesome. But no, I don't think I've ever seen that before at all. That's unfamiliar to me.
They wanted Orlando Bloom also to be nominated for Best Supporting Actor. So there's his photo from a big magazine.
We're talking about this year's recent Oscar results. At the same time, we are digging through our photo archives to go back to our Oscar event for the Two Towers.
Yeah, I'm trying to find photos of Two Towers, One Party, folks.
Because it was exactly 20 years ago this week. Exactly 20 years ago. We appreciate the newcomers. Welcome to the show. Everybody, a little bit of station identification. In case you didn't know, you're here at theonering.net. This is Torn Tuesday. Hi, everyone. I'm Clifford Broadway, writer, editor, and man about town. Right over there, that's Justin Sewell. He's the guy with the magic hat. And he's also got his fingers.
A fan made this.
It's a really fun hat. I love it. And he's also right now looking through our archives of ancient photos from the ancient past, which is where we are right now. I was not trying to get too distracted, but I was thrilled to guess, out of 22 or 23 categories, I got 17 right. And this year, how intriguing. Look at what you found. You found some old media photos where they're doing publicity stills for the Two Towers. Oh, that's a Decipher card from the Decipher card game, the collectible card game, which was Nicholas Holt's favorite card game, and I enjoyed that too. Going back in time through our gallery, holy moly, thank you, Weta Physical Effects and Weta makeup and costume effects. No one on earth can do it like you guys can do it. It's wonderful. And hello, everybody.
And so our first big news with Rings of Power is Weta is not doing the prosthetics for Rings of Power Season 2.
That's right. It's the guys
they
from The Last
have
of Us.
hired the entire prosthetics team, including the stunt people, the actors, the artists, and the senior creative guys from The Last of Us. Everyone's talking about The Last of Us and the finale of Last of Us this week.
Don't spoil it. Don't spoil it.
I'm not spoiling it. I'm just saying that the crew of The Last of Us, the makeup and the prosthetics crew, have all jumped over to Rings of Power Season 2. This is a huge, huge get.
It is. It's a big thing for that production, and I think it's going to be to their great benefit and to their great effectiveness to have that team of people working on Season 2 of Rings of Power. That'll be great for Rings of Power. It really will be. It's a great addition to their team, they didn't stay in New Zealand like they were supposed to, but it is what it is now. So, hello, there was a wonderful person in our live chat who actually said they had just gotten in from the movie theater. And can I acknowledge you for just a moment for joining us in the chat? You're in Sweden, is that right? And you've just told us that you came out of the movie theater where they were showing The Return of the King there on the big screen. I'm excited because that's going to be happening a lot. Throughout this calendar year, we should expect, really, lots and lots of big and widely publicized theatrical re-release screenings of The Lord of the Rings, The Return of the King, because this is the calendar year.
Oh my gosh.
Which is the 20th anniversary of Return of the King. This is it. So we're going to have, and I'm glad you had that experience in theaters. I'm excited to have Return of the King come back to the theater. What on earth is that? Oh no.
That is a real advertisement for Will Ferrell's old school.
Oh, for
the
heaven's
two
sake.
tall ones that was released the same month as Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers. And yes, that is Will Ferrell, Vince Vaughn.
No.
That is the cast of old school replicating. This is how much of a cultural impact Two Towers was having at the time. There's so much goodness in here. I wish, Cliff, it's incredible what I'm finding.
And you're just looking for the Oscar photos, and you're finding all this other crazy stuff.
Well, I think
Wow.
this might be it, Cliff.
Have you found something?
I found something.
Our original Two Towers Oscar party.
The original, it's the 20th anniversary of the Two Towers Oscar party.
And that's the Two Towers Oscar party weekend. That was us before the show was on, and that's red,
those are the
orange,
gift bags that we that a whole team put together. 1,000 gift Oscar party gift bags.
1,000 Oscar party gift bags, and that was my bright orange, red, yellow hair. That was the back of my head because I was supposed to be the Ent who was on fire. Remember the Ent who caught fire in the flooding of Isengard, and he sticks his head in the waters of the river? That was me trying to burn my head with tricolored hair to be a burning Ent.
Do you remember this T-shirt, Cliff? It says "Top 10 signs you are a Tolkien fan."
I love that T-shirt.
Number 10, when you constantly call your loved ones "my precious." Number 9, you apply Rogaine to your feet to appear more hobbitish.
Yes, that's funny.
Number 8, you run
That's
off.
funny.
You run off on a 6-month hike, taking only crackers and rope just for the hell of it. Number 7, you throw your wedding ring into the fireplace so you can see the runes on it. Number 6,
I always liked that one.
You won't eat melon because melon means friend. Number 5, you constantly refer to your father as me old gaffer. Number 4, you claim the reason you are missing a finger is because Gollum bit it off. Number 3, instead of pepper spray, you pack a glass bottle and scream, Ayala Arendil Elenian Akamana at Muggers. Man, that's a deep cut. Number 2, when your wife has a baby, you are overheard saying he really has Gandalf's nose. And number 1, you legally change your name to Strider and hang around the taverns pestering short people. We need to come up with some neat T-shirts like that again.
We should redo that entire list. Actually, there's
all right.
Some of those puns are not deserving of the OneRing.net.
All right, I think I found that these are the Oscar party photos. So Cliff, if you could, I will just open them up, and Cliff, if you could narrate what we're looking at. So, folks, a little context here.
Okay.
Two Towers, One Party was totally put on by the fans at the OneRing.net. We put it all together. We were not studio based. This was not some official New Line Cinema partnership or anything. We just wanted to throw a party and have a reason to dress up. We had no idea anyone was going
for the
to
fans. We wanted to throw a party for the fans, just the fans, so they could have a fun place to hang out and celebrate all the nominations for their favorite film.
And usually, and we knew, and Two Towers was nominated for 6 awards. So, but the Hollywood protocol is you go to the Governor's Ball party put on by the Academy, you go to the Vanity Fair party, you go to Elton John's party, and then you go to Harvey Weinstein's party. And of course, Harvey Weinstein is an executive producer of Lord of the Rings. So, and not to mention, there's a Warner Brothers New Line party. So there's all these other parties for the people and the actors to go to. Were we surprised, Cliff, when the actors started showing up, and there wasn't a red velvet rope, Cliff? Look at this. The first photo I have here is Sean Astin just in the crowd talking with a cosplay fan at the Oscar party.
Yep. They came right in just to mingle with fans and talk to the fans. And, there were a couple of years we did this party at the Hollywood Athletic Club before the Return of the King.
This was at the Hollywood
party. Yeah, we changed venue for the 3rd year.
But we're talking about the Hollywood Athletic Club for sure.
We were at the most haunted location in all of Los Angeles, and it was exciting, really exciting, to have these wonderful folks just feel like they could not have to go to the governor's ball and not have to deal with the official anything. They could talk and energize themselves with the most responsive people in the world. There couldn't have been anybody more wildly enthused. And they brought Oscar Gold, and they were so bouncing that energy with the enthusiastic fans.
That is, it
was
Randy
amazing.
Cook, and that is Jim Rigel, 2 of the visual effects guys, with their fresh Oscars for the Two Towers, and they just let anyone hold them. People were taking pictures with them. There's Billy and some staff members.
Yeah, there they are.
Look at that! See,
that's Catherine. That's Billy and Catherine. Yes.
That is Zoanen, the co-founder of the OneRing.net, and holding someone's Oscar. Why not?
Holding someone's Oscar, yes.
Whose
Oscar was that?
I don't know, but I believe this is that Hal Deer? Or is that Craig Parker?
Is that Craig Parker behind? Well, that would be Hal Deer, yes.
Yeah.
Hal Deer was played by Craig Parker. They are one and the same. You know what? I'm not mistaken. That is Craig Parker. That is Craig Parker right there. Look at that. And I don't think Craig Parker was one of the Oscar winners that night, but Dominic Monaghan, there he was, looking really sharp, so excited. And he would, in the near future, become hired by me and my producers for Ringer's Lord of the Fans, so he could be our narrator for our Lord of the Rings pop culture documentary.
There's Bruce Hopkins, straight
he
from
just went
New
right
Zealand.
by Garfeymau. He went right past Garfeymau. And there's Bruce Hopkins looking amazing. There is Gamling, our very own Bruce Hopkins, the wonderful New Zealand actor, Gamling.
This is, again, Randy Cook, and this is Joe Letteri with his first Oscar, or maybe his second Oscar, because I think he won for Fellowship of the Ring. The guy on the left just was on stage winning an Oscar 20 years later for Avatar: Way of the Water. We got him when he was...
That's him.
that is the 2023 Oscar winner for Best Visual Effects from Weta Workshop, Weta Digital. That is Joe Letteri on the left, hanging out with us fans. Mm-hmm. Quite a huge crowd, Cliff.
Yeah, fantastic crowd.
And the dress code was whatever you want, black tie or cosplay. John Rhys Davies showed up. There's Craig Parker.
Oh my goodness. Wow, this is great that you found these in our archive. This is so great.
Let's see. Oh my gosh, there it is. Those guys just walking in, and this is their first reaction to seeing all the fans of the cosplay in cosplay. Just like, what have we walked into? More Weta Gold, just hanging around the party. There's some staff members in the back there. Oh man, this is it. Let me see if there's a...
That is so exciting to see our friends from Weta winning just like this weekend. And I heard that Kiwi accent on stage as soon as they were up there accepting for Avatar, The Way of Water. And there I am. There's Clifford Broadway. Back when I actually had hair on my head. Yeah, and that was when I was doing red carpet arrivals, probably at the New Zealand Film Consulate, where they had a film event with all the filmmakers there. How funny is that? Look at me with a head of hair. Oh, how the times have changed. Now I'm rocking my Patrick Stewart, Jean-Luc Picard look. I'm totally...
This is what we had set up.
This thing now.
Again, we're just a fan site, so all we could get was this giant, vinyl billboard banner. So we used that behind the stage, and then had a projector in front of it.
That was funny. That was very low grade technical effort there, to be honest.
That, my friends, is executive producer of Lord of the Rings, Barry Osborne.
You know what? Thank you, Orion's Angel. I'll take it. That's the nicest compliment.
That is Alan Lee at the mic. Look how happy Alan Lee is getting out of the limo
Alan Lee was
to hang out with fans.
So excited because the fans treated John Howe and Alan Lee like they were the biggest stars on any rock and roll stage. It was wild. It was really, really, really great. Really great stuff.
Dominic and Billy showing up.
I don't think they had ever gotten that kind of direct focus and personal attention, but that's what they got to appreciate, was that the fans really appreciated more than anybody else, even more than Peter Jackson, the energy. Oh, look, there's my orange, red, and yellow hair. One more time, Justin, that's too funny. Go back to that.
Well, I got more pictures of you and your hair. Here is Cliff's red hair on stage with
in my pure white tuxedo. There I am. Yes, that's me with Craig Parker and my
This is how we used to party and like hobbits, and we plan to continue partying like hobbits with all the new awards. That is Dan Henna, Oscar winner Dan Henna.
That's
hanging
exciting.
out with some fans. There you go.
So exciting.
There's Clifford Broadway, your host with the most, hanging out with Dan Henna.
That's that.
Look at our Gandalf Oscar that someone brought next to a real Oscar.
Oh, that's funny. That's funny.
Cliff, Nigel in the chat room says you look like a Backstreet Boy.
I'll take it. I'll take it. You guys are hilarious. Do you know how exciting it was to host for what we considered our own private corner of Hollywood, just to make the fans feel like they were getting to do a black tie affair? The chance to do the ultimate cocktail dress and the ultimate ball gown or the ultimate black tie and tails. Everybody was feeling like, oh, we're celebrating 3 consecutive years of lots of Oscars and lots of Academy Awards for Lord of the Rings. Then why don't we have a party ourselves? Because none of us are getting into the governor's ball. Certainly, none of us were getting invites to Elton John's after party. You know what we did? We took it upon ourselves.
We made our own restroom
to make our own amazing party happen.
That's what we did. The creativity of fans all brought it. And Garth reminds us in the chat room that Badali Jewelry made the red pin, the lucky red pin that they were all wearing on stage at the Oscars. This was
red pin.
VIP registration, 2 towers, 1 party. Speak friend and enter. And there's the crew setting up. Let me see if I can find.
Dropped my books.
Some more party photos. Hugo Weaving. Yeah. So
Otaku Senpai, you guys are so funny. It's hilarious. Um, Honestly, that was the second year in a row where we as a website decided to go into debt to do a party for the fans. And all we wanted to do was set a decent ticket price and pay for the venue and pay for the catering and make sure we could have a nice party. And, none of it was for ourselves. It was really, a lot of people don't acknowledge that anymore or even remember anymore. Perhaps it's good to be reminded every now and then that the essence of the OneRing.net is not for clickbait, not clickbaity material, and not to broadcast false outrage, fake bull about something outrageous happened, blah, blah, blah. We've just wanted to be a community website that provides community things, like as a functionary. We've always wanted to, encourage people to do their own line parties. So we made an online database where you could get in line in front of the theater and have your own line party in front of your own Lord of the Rings movie house in your own hometown. And so we made the party happen so that once a year fans could gather from everywhere to do a special event. And that's why we do the birthday picnic out in the park every year.
Man, it's
just about community things,
Yeah, I could spend a ton of time going through these photos. One more photo before we move on. Cliff.
Oh, you know what? Finrod84 is asking, was Peter Jackson there? And if you don't have any pictures of him, that's okay. The answer is yes, he was definitely there.
Philippa and Fran were there.
Oh, yeah. All 3 years in a row. All 3 years at all of our Oscar parties.
Peter, Philippa, and Fran were all there hanging out.
And that was nice. We had the support of them. We had the support of these creative filmmakers because they knew that they had the support of the fans. And it was this wonderful symbiotic relationship at the time.
So, folks, we are so excited that Warner Brothers has the movie rights back because Warner Brothers knows how to make an award-nominated movie, and we will definitely be putting on some parties. If Rings of Power is nominated for some Emmys in August, I think August.
That's coming up.
Yeah. I don't know why we wouldn't host an Emmys party because we just love to hang out as fans. Cliff, final photo before we move on. This is amazing. Everyone here has seen the photos and videos of San Diego Comic-Con. The insanity, how packed it is, how insane it is, how much energy there is. Cliff, look at this. It is the first Comic-Con booth that the One Ring ever got when you used to be able to just get a booth. There was no wait list. There was no waiting in line. We had our own island with our own green carpet.
Wow. That was so fun. Do you see that booth with the tent over it? You see that? And right to the left side of it, it looks like the doors of Moria. You see that? That looks like it's painted on some kind of rectangle. Well, that was a confessional booth. It was during that year that we were shooting confessional footage for our documentary that was yet to come, Ringers, Lord of the Fans. And there, on the middle of the Comic-Con floor, you could come right up to the OneRing.net. You could visit all the people at Weta and see all the cool collectibles. Then you could come visit us. And then we would place you, unsuspecting victim. We would make you sign a waiver and then place you inside the confessional booth. We would close the doors of Moria, and there you would sit and face the camera, which was set up next to a cardboard standee of Elijah Wood as Frodo. So you could have Frodo right there in front of you. You could confess yourself to Frodo and talk to the camera. And we used lots of many dozens of myriad interesting confessional clips from the fans. We sprinkled them into the entire movie. It's kind of funny. Actually, it's very funny.
The movie
So,
of the
that's what we
poster
did.
that's right behind you, right? Ringers, Lord of the Fans.
Hey, no. Orion's Angel, we're going to have it re-released after we get that second edition uploaded later on this year. Believe me. So just wait and be patient, my brother. Thank you. Now, everybody, thank you. This is like exciting to see everyone say, I was thrilled for Michelle Yeoh. I was thrilled for
babies.
Ke Huy Quan. My favorite moment was to see Harrison Ford embraced by Ke Huy Quan. That when they won, that was my favorite embrace. Was to see Indiana Jones and Short Round together again. That was just Oscar magic. I can't tell you how cool.
Oh my gosh,
so
is this
cool.
Tukish?
That was so cool.
Is this our Discord moderator Tukish with Andy Serkis just hanging out?
Oh, look what you found. That was when Andy Serkis came to visit our booth, and he invaded the confessional right when a fan was talking to camera. And so we have that. We caught that footage where Andy Serkis comes in as an angry Gollum and interrupts the fan who's talking to the camera. It's really, really funny stuff.
This photo might be the closest I've ever seen to Andy looking like Gollum. I've never seen a photo of them together side by side. This might be the most... oh my gosh, is this who I think it is? Yes, Richard Taylor and Andy with Gollum. Man, we have...
oh my gosh.
We have...
oh my
some,
gosh.
We have some gold here. Folks...
Those pictures are brilliant. That is brilliant.
Just getting warm. We're just getting warmed up because we're now in the new phase. We're in phase 2 of Tolkien movie fandom. Maybe phase 3 if you count the animated show. But as far as the One Ring, look how much fun we had 20 years ago when the Two Towers was nominated for 6 awards.
Yes.
Imagine how much fun we're gonna have for Rohirrim line parties and Rings of Power Emmy awards.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Amazing.
It's going to be great stuff. You know what I'm looking forward to? There's new
Jeff Scott in the chat room. Hello from Kiwiland. Jeff Scott.
Hello there, Jeff Scott. Hey, buddy. It's been a long time. How are you? Heavens. Do you know how much talk has been coming up lately, Justin, about people wanting physical media of the Rings of Power Season 1?
Yes.
There's a lot of people waiting for an announcement that there might be a Blu-ray, a complete Season 1 Blu-ray set. Have you heard any whispers about that in the background?
No whispers yet.
At all.
No.
But the ongoing chatter is fascinating. There's ongoing chatter that people would be wanting to get. Now, is that counterintuitive? Don't you think they just want Amazon subscribers to subscribe to Prime and just watch the seasons and not have any physical copy ever? It makes me wonder what the counterintuition is going to be that's going to make that.
Well,
not
this
happen.
was also in the news this week. IGN reports Everything Everywhere All at Once passes Return of the King as the most awarded movie ever. And this is before the Oscars even happened. It says, according to IGN's...
It's an accumulated list, right?
According to IGN's calculations, Everything Everywhere has 158 accolades from major critics organizations.
Mm-hmm.
And that
includes
more
Boston film critics, New York film critics, Los Angeles
that is
film
more
critics.
than the Lord of the Rings Return of the King, which earned 101 major awards. But
and that includes the Guild Awards and the other awards.
They don't share and then they say Everything Everywhere at Once would still beat out Return of the King in both awards and nominations. 336 awards, 691 on nominations, to 213 awards, 337 nominations. They don't share their work. I mean, well, they do share their work here, but they don't give the list of awards that are that they're citing. They're just kind of like, trust us, we've counted the awards. But if you go to Wikipedia here, it says that Return of the King, The Lord of the Rings made 475 awards and 800 nominations. 475 is bigger than, what do they say, 336. And 800 nominations is above 691.
That's because they're accumulating different numbers from different awards. That is not included in the other account.
Yeah.
So you need to do some more forensic accounting to make an accurate claim.
I mean,
there.
this Wikipedia page for Lord of the Rings awards, Cliff, is incredible.
It sure is. It sure is.
Is it fair to compare just Return of the King to Everything Everywhere? Or should we consider Lord of the Rings, the trilogy, as one complete story? Because I feel like a lot of awards and
Go
critics...
back to what Professor Tolkien considered. It was one complete book. It was never supposed to be split into 3 published volumes. Not in Tolkien's mind. So go back to that original concept, and I would say, yeah. I would very quickly say, yes, the reason why Fellowship and Two Towers did not win Best Picture, and even Howard Shore was excluded for a nomination for the Two Towers score, even though it introduced more new themes musically than any of the others. The truth of the matter is that Return of the King was considered the capper of all 3 films, and all of the awards were given to Return of the King as an honorary package deal for the other 2 films that came before that. So, yes.
A lot of critics associations withheld awards and nominations until the final movie. And that isn't just like gossip. We know that Fellowship and Two Towers were shorted many, many awards because people were waiting for Return of the King.
That is literally the truth. The Fellowship and Two Towers were really screwed over from getting its own freestanding awards because those titles were considered incomplete, maybe in the minds of these voters, in the Academy and in other guilds. So by the time they got to the 3rd film, they thought that was the complete package. We might as well give them, the whole kitchen sink and everything else as the awards go, because that was supposed to be the acknowledgement for all 3 films. And, that made it very, very hard for any of the actors to stand out and get individual acting awards for any of the 3 films, because people were waiting and waiting for all 3 of them to come out. And, was there any doubt that Peter Jackson was not going to stick the landing? Because he did. I mean, by the time you get to the 3rd film, you realize this is just as exceptional a quality of film adaptation as the prior 2 years. And so at that time, there were no more doubts anymore that Peter was delivering massively on the biggest and most ambitious adaptation of a fantasy novel that was considered unfilmable entirely beforehand. You know what I mean? And yes, Jimmy, you're right. Sean Astin was robbed of a nomination for Return of the King. It's very true. And Ian McKellen was lucky to be the only cast member to get a nomination for Best Supporting Actor. Yeah. That's about it. What do you think, Justin? You think Sean was robbed? I know you have an opinion on this.
Well, I just want to be fair to Everything Everywhere. Like, it is a good movie. It is a great movie. Deserves all the awards. But comparing it to Return of the King is unfair because
I wouldn't.
At 800, we have to consider all of the Lord of the Rings nominations and awards, and it's so far beyond Everything Everywhere or almost any movie. So it's but Cliff, this comes up on Discord all the time. Is it fair that IGN compares
Justin.
Everything Everywhere to Return of the King. Is it fair for us to compare Rings of Power to The Last of Us or Game of Thrones?
I have seen people have religious experiences watching Everything Everywhere all at once. I have seen people in a live theater audience sitting on the edge of their seat having what could only be called a revelation of the spirit and the mind. But this is also true for Return of the King. I have sat in the audiences many times in theaters watching people on the edge of their seat having a revelation of spirit and mind watching Return of the King. I have seen it both ways, really. I have. And Jimmy, I mean that phrase by bringing into very, very sharp awareness something emotionally that you had not been aware of before. Return of the King does that. And Everything Everywhere All at Once also does that. It will bring to the front of your consciousness some powerful, impactful emotions and to many people, an inner awareness. That happens when they watch Return of the King. It happens when they watch Everything Everywhere. I've seen it happen. I don't know how else to explain it without falling, unfortunately, into words, metaphysical explanations that I can't get across in a concise way. But trust me, when there's a work of art, a piece of art, artistry that moves you, you notice it. And I've seen people all around me in movie theaters being personally moved by both of these motion pictures. So, given that very broad litmus test, it may or may not be fair to compare both films in a certain way, in that regard, maybe, but they really aren't the same. They're not trying to be the same type of storytelling at all, and they do not occupy the same narrative space at all. So, maybe not. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Well, we've got some gossip from Discord this week. People brought up an old post from Dr. Nosy. Note the date, September 2022. So we had just seen episode 3 of Rings of Power. And it says, Dr. Nosy says that the scene of Galadriel seeing the meteor out of the gate was cut or something. But I think it was originally supposed to be at the same time. When they talk about gate, we mean the gate of Valinor when she's on the ship. Well, folks, some artists from Rings of Power have been uploading their work to websites.
Oh, wait, that means they're breaking their non-disclosure agreement. And those are storyboards?
So this is actual storyboards from Rings of Power.
For something that did not happen. That got cut
There
from
is the gate of Valinor, the gray clouds as Gandalf describes. Let me bring this full screen. Galadriel in close-up. And
look at that.
It is right there in the storyboard with an over-the-shoulder shot. Galadriel sees the meteor. And that's when she decides to jump ship. Cliff, how does this change that scene?
Not much. It still is a bit of a crazy moment where they're giving her a binary choice in a situation that she would not have ever been in. And I don't get it. I never did get it. That's the only thing I've ever found myself banging my head against a brick wall in terms of storytelling. I don't know why Galadriel was on that ship and had to jump into the ocean and swim forever with no place to go and no fresh water and no provisions and no plan to go anywhere.
But
I never got that.
It changes the entire reason of jumping off the ship. How so? if she's on the boat to Valinor and she's having all these thoughts and stuff, and the thing that triggers it, she sees the meteor. And is there anything in history? I guess I want to ask you, Cliff. Is there anything in Middle Earth history, or in the books, or in the text, that implies that comets and meteors just aren't normal occurrences? So her seeing a meteor is a sign from the Eru that I am sending someone.
It might be.
To
it
Earth.
It might have been immediately interpreted by her as a sign from Eru Iluvatar. But why would the general audience have any supposition to go that way in their mind while watching that? Why would the audience even have any green light to go in that direction at all? Maybe, I don't know. I mean, all the other characters are shown reacting to it. Everyone is shown reacting to this meteor, and it's an intriguing concept to get Olorin, who is / Gandalf, to get Olorin all the way over from Valinor, all the way over back to Middle Earth. It's an interesting idea. It's visually interesting.
Do you think she thought that could be Sauron?
No. No. If that were to have remained in the edit and they never cut it out of the show, I don't think that she would have thought that was Sauron. I think she might have thought that, even loosely, if I was sitting there watching it, maybe it would have motivated her to jump from the ship if she thought it was a messenger from Manwë, and that's usually, those messengers are embodied as the great eagles. The great eagles are the living beings that operate as the heralds of the Valar, Manwë.
Okay.
I don't know how she would have immediately interpreted that as some specific thing from Valinor, coming to go back to Middle Earth. I don't know. I really don't know, because you're talking to someone who is still struggling with the logic of that scene as it was presented in the show. Sorry.
Okay, so yeah. All right. The other thing that someone brought up in our Discord this week, and Cliff, I believe I sent you this earlier this week.
Okay, to answer you, Jimmy Mac, we're not necessarily accepting that it was Olorin. The Stranger is just definitely using Gandalf dialogue. And because the Stranger is at the end of season 1 using very, very specific Ian McKellen dialogue, it is probably the strongest indicator that we're supposed to believe this is Olorin. And they're not going to call him Gandalf. I hope they don't, because Gandalf arrived on the shores of the sea and was met by Círdan. And now in season 2, we're definitely going to have Círdan, the shipwright. Hasn't he been cast? We've already gone past the rumor.
Yeah.
Círdan he's in season 2.
Yeah.
So we're just trying to prey on the fact, or continue to play in that traffic lane, that it's going to be an unnamed Gandalf. I'm thinking that they're just going to call him Olorin for 5 seasons.
I think he's I think he's Gandalf, and the other reason
we're going to name him as Gandalf.
The other reason we think he's Gandalf is, first off, there's only 3 actors that have a 5-season contract, and that is that actor that plays that wizard, Galadriel, and Elrond. Those are the only people that have 5-season deals. The other reason was the quote at the end, "Always follow your nose," that he gives at the end.
Yeah.
And what was the other reason that we think he's Gandalf? The New Line Cinema logo at the end of every episode of Rings of Power has a New Line logo, which means Amazon has paid New Line for some image rights. Image and character rights. So,
well, that was the Balrog. The Balrog was the licensed image that they licensed from.
Yeah, but Balrog was not in every episode. So,
oh, yeah, okay, but they just used the same block credits at the end of every episode for all the same. for the
Right.
entire season, right? Is there a difference?
Well,
But
and speaking of
okay.
uh, Gandalf, we've got video of
Uh-oh.
Gandalf being filmed
Uh-oh.
in Spain. So everyone was abuzz this
Uh-oh.
weekend
Oh,
from the
yes.
set of Rings of Power. What are we looking at? Well, let's go to the maps. We are in Spain at a national park.
Oh,
So
okay.
this is an island off of the coast of Africa. There you go. So
Oh,
the Canary
wow.
Islands, are
Is
where
that
they're
where they were
shooting.
filming?
Yeah.
Oh,
So
wow. Okay.
if we go way back, so there we go. So we're going all the way to, and let's see if we can turn on Tenerife. Sorry, my Spanish is terrible. I apologize. So we're in a national park. You can see there it is a mountainous region.
Oh,
There's
wow.
definitely a kind of a volcano right in the middle there, and they are
Wow.
shooting right here near Mirador de la Ruleta, Cañadas del Tiede. I don't know. It is so we are in the Canary Islands, and this is what we're looking at when
See right buildings. This is Isania Observatory.
I
so
thought they were
what
in mainland Spain where they were filming.
no
Now I see they were somewhere else.
so let's see if yeah, this is geolocated.
Wow.
We've got some other photos, other videos here. Two characters in green cloaks. And
We haven't seen any characters in season 1 just specifically wandering around like Frodo and Sam.
So there
in
you go.
Green cloaks. But look at that. There are 2 people in green cloaks.
Two
Oh
people
my
in
gosh,
green
look at who they are.
cloaks. Obviously, those are modern dress crew people in jeans. So the actors are in green cloaks there.
And if it is supposed to be Nori and the stranger, is it possible we could speculate that another one of the Harfoots comes to join them
There's
on their
there's
journey east?
there's a close up of the
Maybe.
green characters, and why do we know that? Because if you zoom in, the detectives on the internet are on the case. That is Daniel Wayman with his big Gandalf beard. This is not another
That
wizard. This is definitely Daniel. So Cliff,
the stranger.
everybody's asking, is this supposed to be Rune?
And I would say yes, Finrod84.
Pass
If I
over
were to
and
make an
side.
educated guess, this is supposed to be the lands to the east. Why? Because if there is any geometric overlay that is to be even marginally considered, like doing a geographic overlay of Middle Earth onto the European continent, then if you're going into the lands of Rune, you're going to go to the Gobi Desert. And far, far, far to the east would be the inland desert, which is in both countries, Mongolia and China, and the vast interior desert biome would be a very intriguing type of physical, very daunting, perhaps, with its own challenges, a daunting physical environment for our characters to be traveling far into the east. So if you think it looks like the Gobi Desert, if you think it might look like what would be considered an arid, a specifically arid desert biome found to the east of a traditional, mountainous European biome with conifers, and Alpine, blah blah blah. If you're thinking of that, then okay. Doesn't it look like Rune to you? Don't you guys think that this looks what you've pictured in your mind as, the strange wilderness far to the east? Just a little bit unfamiliar to somebody who's used to, lush meadows and mountainsides. Look at this. This is, to me, a very evocative climate. And can I say it reminded me of some of the live action footage that Ralph Bakshi had done? Because he shot a whole lot of stuff in Spain with the Battle of Helm's Deep at an actual castle in Spain with, lots and lots and lots of Spaniards. There's extras dressed in these goofy outfits to be orcs or, soldiers of the Rohirrim. And it is kind of going back full circle that the Rings of Power would go to an island off the coast of Spain and do filming.
Well, off the coast of Africa,
70s,
but it's a principality owned by Spain still, the Canary Islands.
That is right. That is correct. Yes.
You know what?
Strictly speaking.
Cliff, someone brought up, great, mystery boxing Gandalf. This is why we are very, very confident that Meteor Man is Gandalf. He always was Gandalf. All the clues are there. And
all the clues are there, but I would prefer him to be a blue wizard, just like Matt, Nerd of the Rings, and several of our friends in the live chat. I think a lot of us have to accept this is going to be Gandalf, but we would prefer that it would be one of the blue wizards. What do you feel? How do you feel, Justin?
He's Gandalf.
Is that what you want? Is that what you want the character to end up being? Or do you want him to be an unknown wizard who we haven't met in any adaptation yet?
Listen.
What do you think?
The Blue Wizards. Tolkien was tooling around with the Blue Wizards his whole life. He even renamed the whole. He even renamed them. Okay.
He did rename them.
He never
he
said
he reconsidered their effectiveness in the overall scheme of the world.
Right.
Well.
He was always tooling around with them. Okay. So I'm okay with exploration. This show using the Blue Wizards, but
okay.
I will say that the Stranger, Meteor Man, whatever you want to call him, he's Gandalf, and he's Gandalf the Grey, because the Blue Wizards, of all characters in Middle Earth, need to not be old white men. The Blue Wizards are not white.
Okay.
They are Asian. They are Persian. They are Middle Eastern. They are
that's fine too.
Arabic.
And that's fine too.
They are Indian descent.
Great.
Our speculation earlier on.
That's great.
Was some of the most awesome, well-respected Asian actors and Middle Eastern actors, Iranian actors, should be up for the Blue Wizards. And we do know that we can imply
Ken Watanabe. I want Ken Watanabe as one of my Blue Wizards. Absolutely.
That's the level of actor that should be a Blue Wizard. And the two Blue Wizards have a similar storyline that the two White Wizards, Gandalf and Saruman, have, where one of the Blue Wizards breaks bad and goes and helps the enemy a bit, kind of like how Saruman does. So there are parallels.
Where are you getting that from?
I'm fanficting this, okay?
Oh, but gosh,
there are
Tolkien didn't say that. Can we just tell the audience now?
Wait,
Professor Tolkien
are you
did
sure?
not say that.
I swear I read in one of the fandom wiki articles
the Blue Wizards were
one of the Blue Wizards chose a darker path.
Not that I remember.
Chose to align himself with.
No,
not Sauron specifically. I'm just saying one of the Blue Wizards was not good.
The earliest iteration of the Blue Wizards was that they were not impactful. Not to say that they were aligning themselves with the descendants of Morgoth or any of the other scions of evil that would have gone and taken over things after Morgoth was gone. The idea really was that the Blue Wizards were at first considered ineffective, and then in many years later, Professor Tolkien wanted to revisit them and consider that they were much more effective. That's the difference that we're talking about here.
Okay.
Don't need to add any more to that.
All right, so I shouldn't read the wiki pages. I should and AO3. I should read the books. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, dig into the right passages.
So intimidating, though.
There's certain stuff in Unfinished Tales, and certain things in the histories of Middle Earth, HOME, that were published posthumously, that will help you understand how Tolkien was evolving. He was just evolving in his own sensibilities about what he thought those characters could achieve.
Where did I get it? Wait,
that's all.
What was in what was in that book that was published last year about the nature of Middle Earth?
You mean this one? This one that I have right here? The one that I have right by my table every day?
Isn't there stuff in there about Tolkien, Blue Wizards, started pursuing a certain... No? Where did I get this?
No. And actually, I really like that Garfema was suggesting watch Matt's Nerd of the Rings video on the Blue Wizards. And that will help you a great deal.
I should... Yeah, okay.
Really,
you know what? I can't read.
Here I am.
I don't want to read, but maybe I can watch more Nerd of the Rings videos. Love you, Matt. Do you feel... Okay, you know what? Let me rephrase.
Okay.
Do you feel... Would you be opposed if Amazon's Rings of Power did what I just said, which is create a parallel story, a familiar story, with the two Blue Wizards that we saw explored in Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings, where one Blue Wizard breaks bad?
Honestly, no, I don't want to see Gandalf anywhere in the Second Age at all.
No. Two Blue Wizards.
Okay, great. But I just want to start that out. Let me start that off. I never wanted to see any Third Age characters that are definitely showing up in the Third Age, and now they're just parading all around the Second Age all over the place. I didn't really want to see that, but with the exception of knowing that there were characters who were there in both ages, and that includes Elrond and Galadriel, and Tom Bombadil, and Gil-galad, the High King, and all these other folks. But Gandalf was not on stage. I never wanted to see Gandalf on stage. Since we had some flashbacks that were set in Valinor, you know, it would have been cool. It would have been cool to see Olorin as a Maiar spirit over in Valinor. I would have been totally down for that. And seeing him, and then all of us fans talking about him and saying, that's pre-Gandalf. Centuries before he's Gandalf. Wouldn't that be cool? I mean, but to have Gandalf show up as Gandalf in the Second Age, when Gandalf is not supposed to be there in the Second Age, isn't really my cup of tea. But, you know, to answer your question, do you want to see one wizard break bad and then another wizard try to help redeem that wizard? Is that what you're saying? Sounds like a television approach to writing.
This is a TV show.
It sounds like a television trope, doesn't it? But okay, sure, why not?
This is again. They don't have rights to much that was written in History of Middle Earth or Silmarillion. So what they have rights to is everything in the Lord of the Rings and the appendices. So they mention the Blue Wizards a couple times in Two Towers. So you could take, based on the rights, Amazon has the rights to two Blue Wizards, whatever, not their names, but has rights to two Blue Wizards and rights to a storyline that explores a wizard breaking bad and a wizard breaking good.
Really? Okay.
Right? Because that is Gandalf's and Saruman's story.
Well, if you're trying to parallel Gandalf and Saruman, Gandalf had very little effort, very, very, very little effort, if not anything at all, none maybe, in trying to redeem Saruman until the very end. Not until the very end when all of the war was made against Rohan and Saruman had betrayed the trust of his neighbors and had killed so many innocents. Only until much, much, much later in that chapter, The Voice of Saruman, I think Professor Tolkien is interested in exploring this very Catholic concept of mercy and the gravity of forgiveness. He's interested in exploring that in the book. We don't see it so much in the Peter Jackson films.
Right, totally.
Really? Not really.
The chat room is... I think the chat room is in agreement with us. The stranger should not be Gandalf. And folks, maybe this is why they don't name him in season 1. Maybe they realized that it's a big mistake.
It and retcon it?
So let me ask you this, Cliff. With Warner Brothers winning the rights back and saying, hey, we're going to make a bunch of spin-off movies, does this complicate the character of Gandalf? And do you think Amazon, as a way to set itself apart from the movies to come, do you think Amazon retcons their own character back into not Gandalf? Do you think you get what you want? Do you think there's a chance you and Matt get what you want, and Meteor Man is not going to be Gandalf moving forward?
Yeah. Yes, that's just as likely as anything. Yes. Yeah. I don't know.
What do you think? What do you think of Finrod? What do you think of Finrod's comment, Cliff? Saying these ding dong showrunners think that fans won't understand the show unless Lord of the Rings characters are in it, like Gandalf.
Yeah, because that ties into the idea that Gandalf would only need to be placed in the series for the sake of an identifiable character for fan service, and otherwise has no business being in the Second Age. Yeah, if that's what's fueling that, then it is a disappointing approach, indeed.
Also, and the crazy thing is, how are you going to spend $1 billion and 2 years filming season 1 and not name the character? Like, yeah. If you're going to trade on the legacy of Peter Jackson and Ian McKellen and Tolkien and everything New Line created, if you're going to trade on that nostalgia,
yeah, indeed.
Why didn't you trade on that nostalgia?
Indeed. I take your point. You, to quote Phoebus from The Hunchback of Notre Dame, you make your point quite vividly, sir.
They think the average viewers won't know. Average viewers are smart. You have to treat your average viewer as smart. Tolkien treats his readers as smart. Peter Jackson treated his viewers as smart. And that is one of the big failings if they choose not to do that. Here's for Frodo in the live chat saying, let me shed some light on this, and thank you for these excellent bits of knowledge. Sauron also sought to recruit some Haradrim, but because 2 wizards had influence among them, Sauron's dominance was not entirely successful, and he took a long time to attack Eregion. And that is from this volume that I have right here, edited by Carl F. Hostetter, The Nature of Middle-earth, Part 3, The World, Its Lands, and Its Inhabitants. So, yeah, the stranger is going south from Rhûn to Harad, that the Harfoots are in the show. And you know what this means? This actually means that if that is what they're doing, then great. That is much more in alignment with the seeds of what Tolkien had written, but it remains unknown whether they have any license to that material in this book, because I don't think they've licensed anything from this. But it is correct to realize that Professor Tolkien wanted to have a measurement of the Blue Wizard's efficacy based upon how Sauron was not as quickly able to sow the seeds of hatred and doubt and evil, because all those seeds had been planted by Big Daddy Morgoth
many centuries earlier in those areas to the far east and to the south. So Sauron wanted to cash in on that. And yeah, all the writings that were changing and evolving in Professor Tolkien's mind, definitely he was looking at the efficacy of his blue wizards later on in life. And I'm glad that he wanted to rewrite that approach to them, really. I really am.
Final thoughts on Gandalf. I think Amazon's kind of in a pickle because first,
do tell.
Option 1, that's Meteor Man is Gandalf. Option 1 is Meteor Man is Gandalf, which is
that is very disappointing approach. That would be very disappointing indeed.
All right, so option 1 is
previous stated reasons.
Option 1 is disappointing to Cliff and disappointing to Nerd of the Rings. I'm not disappointed. I'm totally satisfied that that's Gandalf, and I hope they stay true to that. But Cliff and Matt at Nerd of the Rings don't want that. I don't think Corey Olsen wants it. Nobody wants that to be Gandalf. None of the lore guys want Meteor Man to be Gandalf. So nope. You're not making people happy if he stays as Gandalf. Number 2, that is a blue wizard.
Because having only one there and knowing it's only one will be the ultimate tease that we know there will be another. And by the time we get to season 3 or season 4, we will find another blue wizard. And that would generate a lot of excitement. That would generate tons of excitement.
So you would be excited if he's a blue wizard?
Hell yeah. Because I'd be like, wow, here's one half of a pair. Where's the other half of these two guys? I would be thrilled if the stranger is a blue wizard. But you know, if you're talking about you're not going to cast any old white guys to play wizards anymore, that's fine. I'm fine with them casting lots of other folks to play other essence of wizards, because they would reflect essence of other people that they're trying to culturally influence around the world. Why
Got
not?
It. Well,
absolutely.
You'd be happy idea. With that. I would be more furious than I can possibly state if Meteor Man is Blue Wizard. For the main point being, a blue wizard does not need to be another white guy. It is one of the very few key characters in Tolkien's Legendarium. Tolkien has his own issues of his time, but the two blue wizards are two of the only characters that Tolkien ever wrote that you can definitely put as an Asian or Middle Eastern characterization. They have
Absolutely.
These blue wizards, they go into the east, they go into the south, and they blend in with the peoples and the surroundings of there. They don't stick out. As I was just saying. So having that actor on a 5-year contract to play a blue wizard means they've totally miscast that character. And if, because of the Warner Brothers situation, they decide to retcon their show and not make him Gandalf and make him a blue wizard, you've already recast Adar. You better recast the blue wizard. He better show up in Rune and say, I can't look like this if I'm going to be effective. I don't know what you do. So that's kind of like, they've kind of written themselves into an issue, because the first one, if he's Gandalf the Grey, you're pissed off, I'm happy. If he's a blue wizard, you're happy, and I'm extremely frustrated. So,
well, to have a difference, a very noticeable difference from the Eurocentric quality of the characters should be evident, obviously, because in the narrative of the War of the Ring was a very small geography. The framework on the map was that small. But now we're much, 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 much bigger across the entire planet of Arda, and we're no longer in a narrative bottleneck to deal with only Eurocentric people or places and things.
And I'm
We're
not
certainly looking at
Jimmy Mac
know,
says, do not assume that Runians are going to look Asian. No, we're not. No.
I wouldn't. I would assume that they could be Middle Eastern or Mediterranean or
Mediterranean,
Persian, or
look, Turkish,
or
Iranian,
Indian,
yeah,
or Sri Lankan, or who knows? Could be anything in between. Who knows? But I just like those ideas. That I really understand what you're saying, Justin.
yeah. Well,
I get that.
and Pete
I get that.
Richard, Pete, you're so wonderful to see your name. Pete's been a longtime viewer of the show. Pete even came to our Hobbit Oscar party because at the end of the day, we love throwing parties. Pete says, quote from letter of 14th October 1958. J.R.R. Tolkien says, I think they went as emissaries to distant regions, east band south, missionaries to enemy-occupied lands, as it were. What success they had, I do not know, but I fear that they failed, as Saruman did. And I suspect they were founders or beginners of secret cults and magic traditions that outlasted the fall of Sauron. This is a letter by Tolkien.
Yeah.
Let me repeat that last sentence.
Please do.
I suspect the Blue Wizards were founders or beginners of secret cults and magic traditions that outlasted the fall of Sauron.
Mm-hmm.
The 3 white witches in Rings of Power
What letter is
are
this in?
are cult members, are they not? Aren't they credited as cult members?
Are you reading from one of his letters? What's the letter number? I have my copy. I've got my copy
letter
of letters right here.
October 14th, 1958.
I need a letter number. They come in numbers, by the way.
Jeez, you're
you know
asking
that?
a lot out of me. You're asking a lot out of Pete Ritzert.
Hey, Pete. I love Pete. Hello, Pete. How you doing, buddy?
Letter to Rona Bear. I see her.
I just want to find it. I'm sure it's right in front of me. I'm looking in the index.
No. 211. 211.
Gotcha. Thank you. Thanks, everybody. 211.
KH Dandelion in the chat room goes on and posts. Last writings on Blue Wizards. Their task was to circumvent Sauron, to bring help to the few tribes of men that had rebelled from the Melkor worship, to stir up rebellion, and after his first fall, to search out his hiding, in which they failed, and to cause dissension and disarray among the Dark East. They must have had very great influence, the Blue Wizards did, on the history of the Second Age, and the Third Age in weakening and disarraying the forces of the East, who would both in the Second and Third Age otherwise have outnumbered the West. Kind of sounds like how China still outnumbers the West in population. We can imply, and Tolkien was an astute student of human history and language.
Right.
To say that Tolkien says that the peoples of the East infinitely outnumbered the West. We can apply that to the Indian subcontinent and or the Asian subcontinent, or both. So it's never one-to-one, right? It's not. Tolkien says it's not a Nordic story. This isn't only about English people. But if we want to talk about the peoples of the East, where the Blue Wizards visit and influence, it's obvious he's talking about a created peoples of Middle-earth that are meant to feel like Indians from the subcontinent India and or China, who still has a bigger population. Both of those countries have outnumber the West by multitudes. So
Right.
it's interesting that either through the forces of Sauron, the forces of Melkor, the rebellion and dissension, and maybe the influence of the Blue Wizards, Tolkien might be implying that the Blue Wizards were sent to keep a level of disarray going on in the East, so that the East does not unite to march on the West because they outnumber the West. So this would make the Blue Wizards chaos agents. Like, they exist to sow chaos and make sure that the peoples of the East do not unite.
Well, in a way, they existed to be emissaries of the Valar.
There you go.
Okay.
Well, yeah. I mean, overall,
they were emissaries of the Valar, and
maybe that was the design of the Valar.
Perhaps, but I'm looking through this. I just looked through the entire letter.
Yes.
To 11, and I couldn't find. What were the colors of the two wizards mentioned but not named in the book? That's question 3. And that is actually answered right here. I was just looking through this super carefully. And it says, Tolkien says, I have not named the colors because I do not know them. I doubt if they had distinctive colors. Distinction was only required in the case of the 3 wizards who remained in the relatively small area of the Northwest, which is what I was just talking about a minute ago. The War of the Ring is isolated in that smaller area of Middle-earth in the Northwest. And he says, I really do not know anything clearly about the other 2 wizards, since they do not concern the history of the Northwest. I think they went as emissaries to distant regions, east and south, far out of Númenórean range. Missionaries to enemy-occupied lands, as it were. And that's enemy-occupied lands in quotes, as it were. What success they had, I do not know, but I fear that they failed, as Saruman did, though doubtless in different ways. And I suspect that they were founders or beginners of secret cults and magic traditions that outlasted the fall of Sauron. And that was something that he wrote. Professor Tolkien wrote that in, he wrote that in the year when?
1961. No, 1958. October
58.
1958. So this is
Got it.
4 years after
58. I'm telling you,
Lord of the Rings.
15 or 17 years later, he was rethinking the efficacy. Like I was saying, he reapproached in his mind whether they were effective or not.
Interesting. So, what is your recommendation to knowing the business case of Warner Brothers versus Amazon and Warner Brothers wanting to make more movies, right? Knowing that they only the show and the movies only have rights to stories told in the pages of Lord of the Rings and the appendices. And everything that we've talked about with casting, the actor, the white actor, the going to Rune, and what you just read, what would you do then? Would you retcon? Would you just make him a blue wizard? You're muted. Mute.
To be honest, nobody likes my idea on this, and that's fine too. But I believe that the stranger should always remain as Olorin, and we should call him Olorin, and other people on stage during the drama of seasons 2, 3, 4, and 5 are going to refer to him as Olorin, and that he will remain that character that will always describe to friends as Gandalf before he was Gandalf. And that's how fan culture would respond to him. And that would allow complete leeway for 2 new people, new castings, new performers to be the 2 missing blue wizards to fit a lot of these other criteria that you were talking about. But that's just my idea.
Does the show
that means we'll have 3. We'll have 3 wizards in the Rings of Power if that's how that works out. But Olorin would not be identified as Gandalf throughout the run of seasons 3, 4, and 5, all the way to the end.
Okay. Do they combine?
Yeah, I knew that nobody. I know, Jimmy. I know nobody. I know. No one's gonna like this idea. I totally get it, and that's okay. But how else? How else are they gonna do this? Are they just gonna make him
the chat room
for real
wants to know,
Gandalf, or what?
Do you think they combine 2 of the wizards into a new version? Do the 2 blue wizards just become a blue wizard for simplicity's sake?
No.
Is that a mistake? I think it's a mistake.
It's a mistake because Saruman, even in Peter Jackson's film, says that famous line, "You won't be satisfied until you have the rods of the 5 wizards." And even Gandalf in the Hobbit movie explains very carefully there are 5 of them. What the other 2 names are, I don't quite remember, which was just getting around the licensing problem.
Does that,
there are
rather
5.
than Gandalf, would you be happy if he was Saruman? Because Saruman was sent earlier. It is written that Saruman is sent earlier to Middle Earth.
Saruman in the Third Age, I believe, is Curufin. He's the first one to arrive.
Right.
But I think he's got Radagast with him. He was told by somebody in Valinor to bring Radagast with him, and he tags along. So I think Radagast and Saruman are the very first 2 to arrive.
So is Meteor Man either of those 2?
That's just as likely as anything. Hold on to your hats, kids. Woo! Woo! There's a mythosaur in these here strange dark waters.
None of them went. All right, look.
You know what?
It's
just as likely as anything that there's a Saruman in them deep dark waters. As much as you could be like, oh, there's a mythosaur. Surprise. Yeah, anything's likely in this day and age.
And honestly, we need 2 blue wizards. We need 2 blue wizards that know the lay of the land and can act as experts in a region or of a thing. You know,
yep.
Otaku
Senpai is right that Saruman was first to arrive, but that wasn't until the year 1000 in the Third Age, and that will be 1,000 years after season 5 is over.
I don't care about time. I don't care about the time. It just
we do. We are the fans, and we care about time.
Well, my final vote is it's Gandalf the Grey. Keep it as Gandalf the Grey. Call him Olorin. I like the compromise, Cliff. I feel a good compromise is, you know what? Keep him as Olorin, but do not make him a blue wizard. Period.
Right. And if he stays as Olorin, then they work around him being Gandalf, and everybody gets to point at the TV screen and say, "That's really Gandalf," and everybody gets to do that for several years. At the same time, they're not going to break the canon of, they've already broken so much canon, so who cares anymore? But Gandalf is not supposed to be in the Second Age.
Can the wizards?
I don't think the blue wizards are supposed to be there in the Second Age. So maybe this is all wild speculation, and there will be no blue wizards at all. Period. Who knows?
Oh, that would be. If this show is really going to ruin and the East, and not to have blue wizards is such a
Do you know what? They have a lot
of opportunity.
They have more potential Nazgul that they need to introduce. Instead of introducing potential wizards, they have more potential Ringwraiths that they need to introduce.
Ringwraiths, they've got 7 leaders of dwarves. They've got so many characters to introduce. This is what's frustrating about season 1. We know the characters that are absolutely need to be introduced per the book, per the title, The Rings of Power, per the 20 rings that need to be made and distributed. That's 20 characters that we need to be introduced to. And the fact that we haven't met any of them, it's just so frustrating. Hey, final
Isn't
question.
it strange? Very strange. Think about it even further, guys. What? I mean, knowing that there's not supposed to be any wizards in the Second Age at all, maybe we should just be comfortable knowing that we have a mystery stranger who may not ever be identified as one person or another. It just might be as weird as that. We don't know yet.
Yes, Jimmy, they're wasting time on the wrong made-up things. Yes, correct. All right, so I think we've come to a compromise that I think most fans can be okay with. All right, which is he is Gandalf the Grey. He's never called Gandalf. He's Olorin. And remember, when in Peter Jackson's movies, when Gandalf the White,
if they license Gandalf, and that's what they want to use,
I think they
want
did.
More audience to come to season 2. They want more of the unfamiliar, not hardcore fans to come to season 2.
And the audience has said,
and that might
we
be one
don't
of their secret
care.
tricks.
The audience has said, just tell a good story. We're on board with new characters. We're on board with new characters. In fact, we'd rather have new characters than ruin old ones. That's what the audience has said. That's what the fans have said. So you know what? If Amazon paid New Line to license Gandalf's look and feel, but they've decided not to anymore, I'm okay with that. You know what? But call him Olorin. Because remember, when Gandalf the White comes back, he says Gandalf the Grey. And Gandalf says, yeah, that's what they used to call me. So there is a memory hole of your prior form when it comes to wizards. There's you forget what your prior form was. So it would make sense for Olorin to exist in the show. And I think that's a nice compromise. Hey, final thing before we let you guys go, Cliff.
Okay.
One of the big things, one of the big assumptions for Rings of Power Season 1 was that what was the moment in the trailer at San Diego Comic-Con that rocked your world?
What was one part of the San Diego Comic-Con trailer that really rocked my world?
Yeah. What was the moment in the trailer at Comic-Con that just brought the house down?
When we saw it in a private showing, it was
in Hall H. It was
when it happened in Hall H. That was a different response. People responded differently to different things. Okay, because I saw it twice. I saw it privately with fan websites and YouTube
but the big moment,
and then I saw it
at least online, Twitter blew up. And Balrog started trending immediately as soon as the Comic-Con trailer was released.
Yeah, the two biggest things that people really freaked out about were the Ents and the Balrog.
And that's all. So the Balrog
had been revealed in a previous clip.
And then we finally got to the actual episodes, and turns out the Balrog has nothing to do in the show. And in fact, he has no bearing on the story. And the Balrog was a complete waste of time in the show. They spent all of that money and budget and screen time doing a stupid Balrog reveal that had no bearing on the story. Again, it all comes back to telling a good story. So the thought was, the assumption was that the marketing team had said, hey guys, you got to put a Balrog in here. Like, and this is what they paid New Line for. Back to the New Line logo in the credits. They had licensed Gandalf, Elrond, Galadriel, and the Balrog, right? And everyone looked at the Balrog and said, "Hey, that's the Balrog I remember from Peter Jackson's thing." Well, we go back to some concept art from Rings of Power, again, posted this week. And
here we go. I saw this earlier. That was fascinating. Look at
this.
that.
This is a concept drawing for the Rings of Power for the Balrog. Which means that the Balrog was not a marketing stunt. The Balrog was not a demand from the studio to give us a Comic-Con trailer moment. It means that early on in the pre-production process, the writers and showrunners had already decided we got to have a Balrog, and we got to make it our own.
Yes, indeed.
And so the existence of this drawing means that the Balrog wasn't just the gimmick of a Comic-Con gimmick as we long suspected. It was always intended to be in season 1. But why did it get shortchanged? Because we have learned that 2 episodes were cut from season 1.
Oh, that's right. There were going to be 10, and then it became 8 episodes. To follow along with the people in the live chat, I will say in support of the logic that this creature had no real reason to be there in terms of servicing the story of season 1, but it was there to show that the king of Khazad-dûm was going to block off those corridors and seal off that tunnel and not go there during his lifetime because it's too dangerous to go mining for mithril. Just too dangerous. And he doesn't want to lose any lives of his dwarven kin to seek out this valuable ore. Now, the Balrog is only shown for one reason only, and that's to be a teaser. Well, there it is. That's the one that they will eventually find when they delve too greedily and too deep. They will bump into that Balrog again in the future. All it is a placeholder, just a visual reminder that they're going to bump into that creature centuries in the future. Otherwise, it really had no point in being there. I'm with you on that. Yeah.
So a lot was cut, folks. Like when Amazon decided at the last minute to say, "Hey, you got to cut 2 full episodes out of season 1," it wasn't because of budget, because they have a blank checkbook from Jeff Bezos himself to make the best show ever.
Was it because of limitations of COVID and they didn't get as much coverage as they wanted done?
We've heard that.
Maybe?
We're hearing that this decision was made before COVID was a thing.
But isn't supposed to be? And I'm also aligning my question with some folks in the chat. Was it supposed to be 10 episodes every season for all 5 seasons?
Yes, it was. And then Amazon decided late in the game that season 1 would be 8 episodes instead of 10, and the word we have now is season 2 is again 8 episodes. So
okay.
Whatever the showrunners had planned, 50 hours, 5 seasons, 10 episodes, the studio has already cut 4 full episodes from their from their show.
It remains to be seen, and we're not making any predictions, but it remains to be seen that seasons 3, 4, and 5 might return to a 10-episode format, maybe, but we don't know. We really don't know.
If you're going to spend $1 billion a season on the show, or $500 million a season on the show, why wouldn't you just put all of that to work? Like, we want to be in Middle Earth, and the writers obviously wrote something compelling. Galadriel sees the meteor in the sky. I love this rumor that the fans have put together that we didn't see one meteor, we saw 2 meteors in different parts of the sky, and that's going to be revealed in season 2 and 3. That what we saw were 2 meteors going across the sky.
I'm down for that. That sounds great.
You know, and we've already been told from the showrunners that season 2 is basically the same story as season 1, but from Sauron's perspective. So they're retelling Sauron's story, but from his perspective. So it'd be interesting to have another throwback in season 2 of a big fireball man that lands in thing, and another group of people go to find Meteor Man number 2.
Okay.
What if they just repeat everything? It's like poetry. It rhymes.
Well, and then you end up with the stranger being one of 2 blue wizards then, right? Is that how you end up with that?
Man, I'm telling you, they're in a pickle. Because
Yep.
no one... They've polarized the fandom with this mystery boxing of the wizard character. They've now polarized the fandom of like, if you do it this way, half of you hate us. If we do it this way, and it's just, man, we want to love the show, and we want to be the biggest champions of the show, and we want to come together over a shared passion for this show. But like, this is why I think this is why fans keep yelling about mystery boxes, because it only serves to divide. The mystery box never succeeds.
I agree.
It's not fan service. It just pisses everybody off.
I agree 100%. Also need to mention that we have a lot of stuff happening at WonderCon on Sunday, March 26th at 2 p.m.
That's right.
You guys know that WonderCon is coming up right around the corner.
2 weeks. In Anaheim,
Yep.
tickets are still available. I think day tickets are like only $40 or something. I don't know. I haven't looked it up, but WonderCon is a wonderful convention, and
It is.
and we
It
have
is.
So much goodness to share with you.
I am so excited to be on a panel presentation on Sunday the 26th, and it'll be very exciting. It's my father's birthday. It'll be happy birthday for my dad, and we'll be there talking about all new exciting things, and we'll have a lot to report on and have a very robust presentation for all of you guys. So come to WonderCon. It's a really good convention experience. It's like getting to do the San Diego Comic-Con thing without the headaches and without the outrageous expense and without the COVID, hopefully. So
I know a lot of friends that have got COVID in the last couple of weeks, so it is peaking, it is spiking again. So everybody, be careful out there.
You're not talking about my orange hair from 20 years ago, which was spiking everywhere. Yes, it really was. Sorry to hurt your eyeballs today, people, with all those pictures from the Two Towers fan Oscar party from 20 years ago. We know that we can never erase those images from your memory, but it was really lovely to find them. And thank you, Justin, for finding that great stuff in our archives today. And thank you, everyone, for the very, very robust speculation, very healthy speculation about the Blue Wizards and the Stranger, and whether or not he is part of 3 wizards or none at all. We don't know what's going to happen yet, but as Justin keeps telling us, is it David? Is it Daniel or David?
Daniel Wayman.
It's Daniel.
Right?
Excuse me. Yeah, Mr. Wayman is cast for all 5 seasons of The Rings of Power, and not all the actors really are. So that's really intriguing. I'm excited by all these new developments, and thank you again to Fellowship of Fans for finding some great stuff, shooting on location in the Spanish islands off the African coast, in the Canary Islands. Super interesting. Thank you for Frodo, and thank you for Garfemau, and No One at All, and Orion's Angel, Otaku Senpai, and for, of course, Jimmy, James. What a wonderful, exciting crowd. Cecilia, we love you. XOXO, and all these wonderful folks in the chat. Thank you for being part of this robust energy. I feel uplifted every time I do a Torn Tuesday, because this audience just lifts me up and keeps me on my toes. It's very exciting, really exciting stuff. So until next week, you guys stay safe and warm and dry. If you can, stay sane. If you can get that hamster off of the wheel, get him off of that wheel and stay sane if you can. Until next week, we're going to bring you more news, rumors, and a deficit of craziness We'll bring it all to you.
And watch The Last of Us so we can discuss it
So
next
we can
week.
discuss that. Great stuff. You guys are so awesome. Thank you, everyone in the chat. And Justin, good sir, I applaud you. And thank you for coming through thick and thin, even with your clocks all backwards. Thank you for helping us do a show today. Thank you, brother.
Yeah, what a rush. And next week, we'll give you some information on Celebrian. We know what she looks like.
You need to turn off that crazy eye filter. People have had enough of it. Turn it off.
What? Really?
Yeah. Every week, people are saying, "Oh God, what you just did was nuts." Turn it off. Turn it off. Okay.
What?
You know
what is weird about it? Like I want to look at the camera.
I'm not going to explain it to you, brother. Good night, everybody. We love you. You guys are a great audience, and we'll see you next time on Torrent Tuesday. In the meantime, follow us on the One Ring Net on our social media platforms. Follow me at QuickBeam2000 on Twitter and Instagram. Boom, that guy's Justin's big idea. And we're going to see you next week right here on Torrent Tuesday. Until then, good night and good luck. Or better yet, buenos noches y buena suerte.